the levy is approved, what will be the impact on the average homeowner?
Well, the information is right there. The average is about, average home is 125. It's 75, isn't it?
It was it's $75 for a $125,000 home.
The average.
And what we talk about in our presentations is that the charts that we show when we show the tax impact, that when we've done this before, those amounts over time has actually been less on an annual basis because of what's happened with market value, some new properties. Now obviously we can't say what's going to happen. You know, who knows what's going to happen in our economy with homes or new businesses or what have you. But we can say that that $100,000 home, which is now a $125,000 home, that person paid less for that $300 levy than they're paying less than what we told them back in 2002.
This is a question that you sort of mentioned today when you got a call from a local guy in the cabin, but are there any exceptions to who would pay the operating levy tax?
The lakeshore and recreational property not included. They are included on a bond referendum. That's why people get somewhat confused. And also agriculture property is not included, and again that's people get confused in that because agriculture property is included on a bond referendum, but ag property is not included on an operating referendum. So those are the areas that are not included in regard to taxation with this operating referendum.
I know the administration school board, you guys have talked about there being $300,000 in cuts if the levy does not pass. What does that represent as a percentage of the district's budget, or what would that be equivalent to give people an idea of how much $300,000 would affect the district?
If we say that a teacher is worth in our budget $50,000 to $60,000, then obviously we'd say that would be 6 teachers if that's how the board would move along. If we are saying we're going to do something in regard to activities and cut some activities, cut an activity bus, get rid of a program, whatever. There are all sorts of things out there that would be on the table, go ahead. Let me just.
Have there been any discussions of possibility things to be cut?
No, we have not discussed that. We'll wait and see if it's passed, and then we'll go from there.
You know, a lot of people are concerned about extracurricular activities, athletics, things along those lines. Would things like that be on the table if it came down to it?
Everything would be on the table. You know, in regard to activities, if we just talk about participation, you know, at the middle school in 7th and 8th grade, where we start athletics in 7th grade. Last year we had over 70% of our students involved in at least one activity, which is a very high amount. Still working on the high school number, but just to give you an indication, at least at the middle school, that a vast majority of students participate in some type of other program, you know, that we have, and over time the board has seen a value of having that. Also, we have equal playing time at the middle school. We have a no-cut situation at the high school. We don't cut anybody from our athletic teams, and that isn't always the case at other places. So we like to have people continue to play if at all possible, and again, being able to run these programs, have the funding to be able to do those two things, and to provide the coaches have been valuable over the years. And again, what we're asking is that we can continue to do the same thing for the next kids that come down the line.
I think on top of that, we did raise our activity fees a little bit, but we're still average or below average on fees. You know, the Wright County conferences, certainly in football and high-end sports like that, some of the schools are much higher than our fees are.
And we we believe that if those fees get up too high, we're going to eliminate students. They're not going to. We're not an affluent. We're not an affluent community, and we can't say, well, it's going to be $300 to play football, like some other places that might even be close to here. We know we're going to lose participation, and kids are going to have to be out on their own doing something else.
Well, this is a question that was actually one of our Ask the Administrators, but I think I'm going to ask it again because I know it's something that people are thinking about out there. And it was, in 2002, authorized a $300 per pupil operating levy for 10 years. Still has 4 years remaining. I know voters are curious then, why then, if the levy has 4 years left, do we need another levy?
Because we need more money, is the bottom line. That isn't enough. At that time, the average operating referendum was $373, and the district went for $300 and was successful. 6 years later, the average in this state is $760, and we're still at $300. We're way behind. We're way behind the average, and just trying to get under the average. And I think it's a picture in regard to school funding, in the state, that we're not the only ones that do this. 90% of the districts have an operating referendum. You don't see as many going out this time, but you saw, I think, close to 90 go out the last election. It's just a matter of time before districts do this. So I think if people look and see what's happened in regard to overall in the state in regard to operating levies, they can get a good picture of why we have to do that. But the bottom line is that $300 per student is not enough.
Well, like you mentioned, about 90% of school districts do have operating levies, and Litchfield's had one since 1999, according to some research.
We passed one in 1998, and an interesting thing, the state took that away. If you were under, I believe if you were under 315 or 350, they took it away, and through manipulation, where we had to go back and try it again in 2002. So actually, there was a year where we didn't have an operating referendum in between during the Ventura years. So that's why that was so close. That was a 10-year one in 1998. They changed the rules, took it away, and then they said, well, now you don't have any, now you have to go out again. We happen to be one of the districts that got caught that we had to go out and do that again, and that was successful in 2002. So anyway, that's just that's a way to get to.
I wasn't familiar with that fact.
Yeah, that's what happened there, yeah. But to answer your question, yeah, there really was a year there where the state took it away. We didn't have one, right in the middle in 99 or somewhere. Maybe it was 2001 where we didn't have it.
Well, if schools receive state and federal aid, why are they relying on these operating referendums? If 90% of the districts need to have these to operate, they shouldn't, should they?
It's a concept in government in regard to what the state believes its allowance should be to schools, and they cap that allowance, and they say, okay, local districts, if you can't do it with that, you go out to your local voters and ask for an increase. And for property districts that are not property wealthy, we'll help you out a little bit, and we'll give you, in our case, 30%. But you have to get voters to say yes, they get part of that state money. And again, why did they do that? I don't know. That's just the rules. That's the game. They say, why don't you just give us the 30% anyway? So what happens is they do have, for districts that lose and don't have an operating levy, they don't have access to the money, so the state has that money and keeps that money in a fund, or keeps it somewhere and hangs on to it rather than distributing it. So it's those are the rules of the game, and we always don't like the rules of the game, but if we're in the game, we have to acknowledge that those are the rules and learn the rules and work with them to be successful.